and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky, and I'm here today with...
Justin DeClue.
And Colin Cunningham.
And Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts. Okay, stop it there, because we could get sued. Copyright notices.
Yeah, that's right. Paul McCartney's just going around listening to podcasts.
Yeah, he's like, I want to know what people said about the movie I had nothing to do with.
Yeah, but does he even own these songs? Because
no, he doesn't.
Didn't Michael Jackson buy them back from him?
Yeah,
I don't know who owns them at this point.
To make this movie, Robert Stigwood bought a bunch of his songs. So apparently the Beatles songs are just up for sale.
Well, yeah, Robert Stigwood owned 29 of them, and he's like, I got to do something with them, and that's why this movie exists.
When they were doing, he was doing those videos of Michael Jackson, like Say, Say, Say. I think he told Michael Jackson about, a good investment is like buying like musical recordings, like libraries and stuff. And then Michael Jackson was like, it's a good idea. And then he bought all the Beatles catalog.
And then their friendship was never recovered.
The Beatles and Michael Jackson?
No,
Yes.
Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson.
I was going to say, they're all in whatever afterlife they're in, playing air hockey with the devil. Whoops, gave it away there.
So today we're talking about Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Oh my God, it's a very long title.
The show.
The movie starring the Beatles and Peter Frampton and a bajillion celebrities.
Starring who?
Sha-na-na, Donovan, Dame Edna.
Dame Edna. Did I say the Beatles or the Bee Gees?
I think you said the Beatles.
I meant to say the Bee Gees.
Yeah, well, they're just as good as the Beatles. Wait, I should say right from the get-go, I've never seen this movie because it is a famous turd. And I was like, no, thank you.
I was telling April I'd heard about it. I think like Rolling Stone did a magazine about like, famous failed musicals or something like this. And this was their number one for like worst musical of all time.
Which is weird because I love the Beatles music and I love big, lavish musical things like this, like The Apple or Jesus Christ Superstar. But this is so hated that I didn't even come within 100 feet of it.
I just never, and when April mentioned we were going to have to watch it, I think I groaned out loud multiple times.
What YouTube bad movie review show or podcast did this movie?
Well, believe it or not, actually, the reason I picked it this week is because my mom recommended it.
Wait, recommended it for the show or just in general?
For the show.
Wait a minute. Did she win the lottery? Because...
No, see, that's why you got to keep suggesting movies to us because it might get picked, not lottery. She caught it on TV the other night and was like, "Have I got a movie for your podcast?"
What channel?
I don't know what channel, but I heard about this movie back in like 2000 because there was a special on VH1 or Much More Music if you live in Canada, where they were talking about how it was a huge failure, and so that's how I had ever heard of it. Never saw it.
The channel that I would always turn on and go, when am I going to see a Weird Al video?
I don't think Weird Al was ever on Much More Music.
Never. You could maybe catch Fat if you're lucky.
Much More Music was supposed to be like for the classier adults of music fans, I guess.
So was that a spin-off from Much Music?
For
people that
Much
don't
More
know.
Music and Much Music were different channels? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, no, they were different channels.
Okay, so for those that don't know, MTV in Canada was basically called Much Music. It was
our own.
It was our own
thing.
version of MTV, basically.
And Much Music made Big Shiny Tunes, right?
Which was basically a compilation of the year's best songs or biggest hits.
Sorry, Silverchair was definitely on there.
Dude, the Big Shiny Tunes albums were great, but I still remember Much Music was channel 29 and Much More Music was 36.
YTV 25.
I remember going to a party at my friend's place. I knew this buddy who was, he's like the type of guy, he would show up at your party and would take over the stereo immediately to DJ because he didn't like anybody's taste in music except his own. And then we went to a party with some high school friends of ours, and one of the high school friends had like, my friend looked at his musical collection and it was all Big Shiny Tunes CDs.
I definitely had a lot of them.
And he grabbed me and he's like, "We're leaving now."
So
as opposed to what, like Weezer and the Replacements?
That's like the exact scene from Local Legends, Justin, where he's like, she only has the Billy Joel compilation albums.
It's like the compilation albums.
Listen, this like CD binder that's portable and that I keep under the, my car on the passenger seat only has so many slots in it.
Exactly.
True.
Yeah, but that was like the sign that you had like shit musical taste. You would just get the biggest hits of the year, and he just had a stack of them, and he just said, "We're leaving now."
Big Shiny Tunes was very beautifully choreographed or cataloged. Choreographed because I was dancing to it, and I had choreography for every song.
Okay, so let's talk about this movie. I didn't think it was as bad as its reputation.
No.
I loved 3/4 of it. I was all in until I'm like, oh, it's just a concert movie.
Well, the thing is this movie is very campy, and it's high, like it's high camp musical, kind of like your Phantom of the Paradise, Rocky Horror, but nowhere near as good as either of those movies.
No.
Because it's the 1978, so it has that very 70s look and feel to it. And it sounds like it would have all the things I would like. I love the Beatles. I listened to the Beatles a ton in my college years.
Me
so
too.
Much so
it's
that
the law. You have to listen to the Beatles.
Yeah,
you have to.
So much so that I would never sit down and listen to an album today because I listened to
Watching this
way
movie
too
made
much.
me want to go and start listening to the Beatles again.
It made me too.
We all have the songs in our heads, right? I mean, I definitely did.
We do.
After watching.
There was a few that you didn't know, April.
Yeah, so
which was weird to
apparently
me.
I
Really?
had
because all the songs are from
full
Abbey
version.
Road or Sgt. Pepper's Lonely
I know.
Hearts.
She didn't know Fixing a Hole.
I didn't have the whole version of Sgt. Pepper's because in my day we downloaded our albums and
Off
it was
of
missing
LimeWire.
songs.
You're like, wait, I don't remember this Weird Al parody. There's so many swears in it.
No, it was like Napster.
I
Kazaa.
missed. So there were actually some Beatles songs in this I didn't know. Can you imagine? I'm a horrible fan.
Yeah, if you've ever wanted to see an 85-year-old George Burns doing Soft Shoe
Please, just let him rest.
While talk singing Fixing a Hole. This is the movie for you.
So anyway, what I was just going to say is this movie has some good musical sequences, but it has a lot of problems. Mm-hmm. It has a lot of problems. And the biggest problem is they didn't get actors, they got musicians, and none of them could act.
Disagree. Yes. I loved watching the Bee Gees do shtick, and
Holy crap.
adored Peter Frampton's dollar store Roger, who's the guy
Roger
from
Daltrey.
Roger Daltrey shtick that he was doing.
I know exactly who you're saying.
Peter Frampton's faces in this was
so
like his
good.
eyes were like bugging out.
Such a dweeb, and like his reactions to everything.
I don't really know anything. Yeah, other than that Simpsons joke regarding Peter Frampton. I don't know anything
Mr. Frampton, you're not going to eat all this watermelon.
Yeah, actually, Peter Frampton, my knowledge of him is just from that Simpsons
Can
episode.
you feel?
I bought that pig at Pink Floyd's yard sale.
All I know is he can make his guitar talk.
So Peter Frampton, doing a little bit of research. I had heard him before, but he's not somebody who like you hear his music played all that much these days.
No,
he was in Humble Pie.
Right.
What are the hits of Humble Pie?
I don't know.
Can't remember.
I didn't look it up, but I think Peter Frampton did that. Ooh, baby, I love you way. I think, and that gets radio play on like the oldie stations.
Oh, did he do that one?
That's what I read in Wikipedia today. Unless it's a different "Baby, I Love Your Way." I'm
know.
so sorry if I'm getting this because our fans are probably like, "You idiots, you don't know Peter."
But
Frampton,
like his big
cute.
hit was "Frampton Comes Alive," his live album.
Yeah, I remember that, but I know the album, but I just don't know any songs. So I couldn't listen to a song and say like,
he talks through his guitar. That was his whole shtick.
So he used the famous talk box, which is like you talk into a thing and it makes it sound like a robot voice. And lots of other artists
Which they do in this movie.
They do use it in this movie, which I like.
Love those bondage sex robots in this movie.
Yeah, that was so crazy.
But the first thing you just have to point out that you have to know about this movie is that there's no dialogue.
Yes.
The only dialogue is George Burns.
A little bit too much George Burns, in my opinion.
Yeah, so he
Not enough, in my opinion.
in these like shot separately sequenced to narrate what's happening, and the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton go through the plot of this movie, and they're talking, but
the
they're
audio
not
is
mic'd.
muted.
So they're just like miming,
Which it kind of adds up to this really creepy vibe of the movie where you see people like, at one point like Earth, Wind and Fire are playing a concert and you see the crowd reacting to the show, but you hear no noise
hear them,
from.
so it's like quiet.
It's very strange.
Yeah, it's supposed to be kind of almost like a silent film, and there's even intertitles that come up throughout the movie to let you know what's happening. I want to ask Colin though, do you have a relationship with George Burns?
With George Burns?
Yeah, like what is he
like
from?
A sexual
I know
relationship?
of him. But
Yeah, I also know of him, but
Yeah.
I don't know anything about him.
No,
He's a comedian.
not really. He's an old-timey comedian. He smoked cigars.
He's
him
God
and his wife.
in Oh
him and his
God.
wife. That's what I was getting to. Yeah, he was a big deal in like the 80s. He did the Oh God movies. That was like
My
his
God, there's speaking of God, there is 3 Oh God movies.
I've never even heard of this.
I think the first one has like John Denver is the star or something like that. I can't remember. I never saw those movies. I don't know anything about them, but he was just like omnipresent.
It
George
looks
Burns.
like doing very brief research right now. He was famous for the George Burns and Gracie Allen show, which was a 1950 to 1958 sitcom. So 8 seasons. That's a long time.
Yeah, he'd always say goodnight to the folks, Gracie.
Yeah. And he was in the Sunshine Boys as well with Walter Matthau.
That's right. Yeah. But I don't think I've ever seen a movie starring him.
I know that he was in. Was that him in 18 again?
Yes, it is him in 18 again.
The original 18 again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Obviously. Yeah. I only know that because it was reviewed by another podcast. I haven't actually seen it.
He was only like 95.
Was
at
he
that
in
point.
Cocoon?
No, he was not.
Okay.
No, he was too old for Cocoon, I'm sure.
Oh my god.
I think they found his body in a cocoon. And
Oh, wow. He's still alive. No, he's not. He
And I
passed
will say
away.
that like he is charismatic in this movie.
didn't he live? He lived to like 100.
I'm gonna look right
I'm
now.
sure
I feel like he
was
he did 1896 to 1996, 100 years of
Jesus
age.
Christ.
He was like famous for being old.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
he's
pretty
like
much.
from the beginning of time. He was old. He was one of those.
Well, Betty White's almost gonna outlive him.
Yeah, jeez, Louise.
But yeah, so he plays the mayor of the town in this movie.
Heartland.
Heartland, USA.
But like he's like telling the story, but he also has like a role in it.
Yeah, but he is in some scenes, but apparently they brought him in because the Bee Gees were so shit at acting. And like,
they had British accents they couldn't hide.
Them and Peter Frampton. So
do you think that they had shot a part of this movie with them actually saying the lines, and halfway through they brought George Burns in to smooth it out?
That's what I think. That I saw an interview with Alice Cooper that made it sound like that was the case. But I mean, we weren't there. Who knows?
who knows? Yeah, they probably it might have been discovered during like.
We should talk about Robert Stigwood a little bit because he was a huge success, and I think this movie ruined his career.
Yeah, he was the producer for the Bee Gees and Cream and Eric Clapton, and
The
then
producer or the manager?
the manager, and then he produced Grease. It was a huge
Grease
hit.
and Saturday Night Fever.
Saturday Night Fever.
Huge hits in the
But
70s.
didn't
Jesus Christ
Grease
Superstar.
come out
He
after
produced Jesus
this?
Christ Superstar?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Oh, no, Grease came out the same year, 1978.
I thought it was 77. Anyway, Grease was a huge hit. And
Saturday Night Fever came out. He did this movie to, I don't know, propel the Bee Gees to superstardom.
But this movie actually did okay financially. It was just ravaged by critics and became a joke.
Really?
And I think that their main, one of the main goals for this movie was like Saturday Night Fever to make money off the album because the Saturday Night Fever album is one of the most successful movie soundtracks of all time.
And it kind of hit during the filming of this movie.
Yes, that's what I read.
And we should point out that this is directed by one of the big like 70s music feature film guys, Michael Schultz, who had done Car Wash, Cooley High.
The Last Dragon.
Yep, he would go on to do The Last Dragon. Didn't he have another? Oh, he also did, it's not Def Jam, Crush Groove.
Yeah,
Well, then why does this movie look so bad?
He has.
Oh, I
like,
disagree. Did you watch like the iTunes version, the high def one?
Yeah.
Yep.
This guy is like 112 directing credits, and he's still directing to this day.
Yeah, he became a TV guy. I think that pretty much after Sgt. Pepper's, he was like banished to TV, coming back every now and then. Like in '85, he did Crush Groove and Last Dragon in the same year.
Excuse me, you're forgetting a little movie starring the Fat Boys called Disorderlies.
Disorderlies, that's right. Because the Fat Boys are in Crush Groove.
Are they really?
Yep, they play themselves.
Oh,
So this movie starts with a montage of, and this is very confusing, that Sgt. Pepper was a real person, but he is not who this movie's about.
yeah. Well, so it starts as all good musicals should, in a battle in World War
One. I was very disappointed that Sgt. Pepper comes out and they're like, he was the last secret weapon. I was hoping that he would like play his music and like the soldiers would start dancing and stuff like that. It doesn't really happen.
He just kind of marches
and then
through
it cuts
town.
away.
So I guess it's like
their spirit.
The Allies deploy him and his band, and they play music, and spreads peace and love all over the world.
That joke about bringing the best weapon we have reminds me of that amazing Monty Python joke in the first episode where it's like the funniest joke in the world. Have you ever seen that, Colin?
Yeah, where they march through town and all the Germans, and they translate it to German.
And they're laughing, and then they die because it's so funny.
It is kind of like that, except nobody dies.
But so we see throughout the years, they also deploy them during World War II.
It's like the beginning of Wolverine, right?
It is. Oh my God.
Where he goes through all the world wars and getting older and playing.
Wait. Who is the guy that plays Sergeant Pepper? Or is
I don't think
famous?
it's anybody.
April was saying it's like the intro for Wolverine, where he's going through all the different wars.
I wish he was like morphing as he played the song,
and he's like getting blasted in the chest by a big cannonball in like, the Civil War.
And he's like, "And I never found love," hence the name of the band, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
The weird thing about this movie is Beatles lyrics are, I think, meant to be nonsensical. You're not supposed to go into them and then try and make a plot or a character
but they will.
out of it.
They will.
They do try, but the point,
who is this person called Mr. Mustard? I wonder if this will play into something at some point.
Yeah, it's just supposed to be some funny. It's not supposed to. I don't. I'm not a Beatles historian, so
whatever. I mean, they're all sort of. How would you say standalone? Not necessarily gibberish. Each song on its own can kind of make sense, unless
So after this opening, I guess Sgt. Pepper and his Lonely Hearts Club Band fell in a vat of wax, so then they made them into dummies and set them up in the town museum.
Yeah, they become statues or mannequins.
Okay. Well, they haven't become statues. They made statues of them.
No, so he comes back. He's being celebrated by the town. He's from Heartland, USA. And as what are they going to do? He's going to play one last
song, and he has a heart attack during it.
And then he dies. So they, in honor of Sergeant Pepper, they make a golden weather vane that they put on the city hall.
Also, but they have statues that are holding their magical instruments.
I was hoping so bad that at one point they would come to life.
In this movie, it's possible.
Yeah,
the instruments are so important, and somehow it doesn't end with them playing a song and shooting lasers at the villain. How?
Yeah.
I'm going to say this again. The big problem I have with the movie is about 3/4 of the way through, it feels like the cocaine wore out, and they're like, I don't know, we have a bunch of songs at the end, so whatever, just end it.
You wanted it to end like Kiss versus the Phantom of the Theme Park?
You know what? I've never seen Kiss versus the Phantom Park.
Hey guys, did you know that Kiss turned down this movie to do Kiss in the Phantom of the Park?
Well, yeah, they star in that one. So.
Yeah, so it was they were supposed to have the role that Aerosmith had at the very end.
That makes sense.
Aerosmith.
But getting back to the plot, so we jump to the present where I guess it's Peter Frampton is the grandson of Sergeant Pepper.
He's his eldest son, Billy Shears.
Okay. Not a very lonely heart if he has so many kids.
Yeah, I know. What the hell?
Yeah, so he's name-checked in the song.
Maybe he just hated his wife. He had a lonely heart.
Brother. No, what's the brother's name?
Doug something,
Dougie Shears.
Dougie Shears. Now, I will say, this guy is the only good actor in this whole movie. I think because he's an actual
I think you're not...
actor.
I think your definition of good acting is too narrow, because I love the Bee Gees in this. Anytime they do shtick, at one point one of them gets his earphones dragged pulled off his head, and he reacts 3 seconds too late.
Yeah, I mean, they're terrible.
He grabs his ears like someone stabbed him, being ah!
But because they're not talking, they're doing all this theatrical,
pantomime.
Physical pantomime acting.
And the drummer
so bad.
is just this bald guy that's who looks like he should be in a Bee Gees cover band. Yeah, Maurice Gibb.
Yeah, he's the worst. He's reacting so much less, and there were a ton of drugs on this set, according to IMDb.
Yeah.
So they were all on drugs. And
what was it? They all had drug problems, and then Barry Gibb said he would see crew members go by with bags of cocaine.
Yeah, just on the set. So it was everywhere. God. And I think that maybe Maurice Gibb was the one who was on the downers, because he's barely reacting.
He's very muted. They put him on the drums for most of the movie.
Barry Gibb is also on a downer, but you can't tell because his hair takes up 3/4 of his head.
Oh, I love that hair.
Oh, his lion's mane.
So this is when I fell in love with the movie. where there's this long take that's so gimmicky of like people jumping in and out of shot. You see the band obviously run into the center of the frame off camera as they're playing. I think it's Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, right?
Yeah.
That Peter
the first
Frampton
song?
starts with. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the introduction to Peter Frampton, I'm like, look at this nerd. And he's the lead singer.
He's very slight. He's very super skinny. Anyway, I like the guy that played his brother who introduced him.
He's
the guy
actually
who's
really good.
obsessed with money.
Yeah, he's a British actor.
You said they're the only good actor? I think you're...
Good.
Donald Pleasance and his hairpiece is also in this movie.
Donald Pleasance, who looks like a sleazy version of Ringo Starr.
It
must have been based on him because he's, other than the gold tooth, it looks
peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
Don't send me any letters anymore. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Anyway, it starts off with a simple plot, which is this young band, and he has a girlfriend named Strawberry Fields.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I wonder if this will play into it at some point.
And then they get like a letter calling them to Hollywood to be big time musicians.
So obviously they get into their hot air balloon.
Yep, as you do, right? And they sail off for California.
Well, they get hit by a plane, and then they appear on the plane, making the rest of the movie a death dream of the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club
Band. Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way.
What do you think that whole day in the life sequence was? But I mean, we'll get to the end of this movie, which is
we skipped
insane.
as well as that, like, if you want the most literal version of the songs, you're going to get it. Are they lying in a barn, and it's the beginning of the day, and they look up into the light and go, here comes the sun.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I don't think that the musical numbers were creative enough.
I thought so. I thought that I was very impressed
that
until the end, none of the musical numbers would stop the story dead. Like, stuff would be happening through them as they sang the song.
I disagree. I feel like a lot of the musical numbers are just a flat shot of somebody singing, and it goes on forever.
I disagree.
I think,
I don't know what movie you watched.
No, it feels like there are about maybe 2 or 3 too many songs in this.
But
I
they
agree.
played the entire song, too, where it's like, you could cut the last chorus.
They don't.
I think you're thinking of the end, like the last half of the movie, where I agree with you, where it's like Steve Martin sings a song, and it's like, okay.
That is the worst. I was actually looking forward to Steve Martin in this movie. That was fucking a nightmare to listen to. That is the most unpleasant thing I can imagine.
Well, there's nothing worse than taking it, like making like talk singing a song.
Now, I've got a thing against talk singing. I hate it so much.
Because I like it, though, when you take songs and you put them into, like, if it's a male singer, you make it into dialogue with like a woman singing or stuff like that. I find that fun, and I found that the first half of the movie did that a lot. Like when they sing She's So Heavy for like 10 minutes, seemingly.
I had to plug my ears.
Yeah,
but not because it's bad. And I know that was intentional.
Damn. Oh yeah, there's like a real like crunchy guitar in their version.
There was like towards the end of that song, they're basically playing white noise, and we have surround sound, and that was hurting my little ears.
Yeah, it was coming out of like all speakers.
But
talk singing, there was a Beatles tribute album that came out. I think it was in the 90s, where it was like a whole bunch of celebrities did covers of Beatles tunes.
No,
so, like,
thank you.
Jim Carrey did like I Am the
not
Walrus.
Even singers.
No. So like Goldie Hawn did one, and Sean Connery. It was all just like Sean Connery did a song, and I can't remember what song it was, but it was all just like talk singing. I was like, I think it was Hard Day's Night. It's been a hard day's night. And I've been working like a dog.
Yeah, talk singing only works if it's like the beginning of the song and then you get into the singing part, like that, like how you would in a musical where you're talking and then it transitions into the song seamlessly. And this movie didn't do that because there is no talking.
Well, Donald Pleasance gets into some talk singing. Thankfully, not very long.
So does the Mean Mr. Mustard song.
Oh, yeah.
That's talk singing too.
Fuck,
but I actually liked that song because the robots sing.
Okay. So does anybody want to pick this as their favorite thing?
You can have it.
Oh, the sex robots?
Yeah, well, it's not my favorite. I could pick something else later on, but
I have something else.
Was so amused by these sex robots that they're not a one-time joke either. They are supporting characters in this movie.
They are through the whole movie, and they have one of the best musical numbers. I forgot. It was
the Mean Mr. Mustard, right?
Was that or She's Leaving when she's
it's
Strawberry
She's Leaving.
Fields?
It's the amazing part where, because the Bee Gees, Sgt. Pepper went to the big time, their instruments were stolen, and the town has just devolved into, honestly, looks way more fun than what it used to be. There's arcades all over the place.
Yeah, like April said it was like Pottersville or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because isn't Pottersville a lot more fun than
yes, it is. That's the joke.
Bedford Falls.
Yeah. Bedford Falls, boring. Give me some Pottersville.
Wow, they got a lot more hookers in the
Oh my God. My wife, she's turned into what's worst of all, a librarian.
Hey, they still have a library in Pottersville. A single librarian.
Surprising. But it's probably porno books, though.
Yeah. Pornos and comics, like Tales from the Crypt.
But yeah, so these robots, they're women in these skin-tight black suits that look like gimp suits.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And they have like a telephone cord hair.
Yeah, they're so cool. And I love this sound. They have that like vocoder sound.
That's the talk box kind of.
Yeah, it's so cool. But
they're two Peter Framptons that were put in there for the split screens.
I'm hearing double.
Peter Frampton.
Yeah, they do the She's Leaving Home, and it's great. It's a cool version of the song.
I guess I don't know that song, so it didn't stick out to me in my memory. I'm sorry. It's one of the ones I didn't download.
I know 2 Beatles songs, Lucy in the Sky Was Diamonds, and that Ringo Starr one. Don't know which it is.
Photograph.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
The one was the Octopus. Solo. That's a Ringo Starr one, right?
Octopus's Garden.
Yeah.
Ringo did a bunch. But no, Photograph is like his big solo hit. I think like Paul McCartney probably wrote it for him.
So the plot continues on where her name is her full name Strawberry Fields?
Yes, Strawberry Fields.
Yes. She goes to the big city, the big smoke as they call it, to get back Peter Frampton and the Bee Gees because all their instruments have been stolen and taken to these nefarious lairs where they will be tortured by having to listen to people sing songs that have nothing to do with anything.
Well, like there's like 2 plots. It starts off with the plot of them going to LA and becoming stars and being seduced by Lucy and her diamonds, which is like this young black singer who is portrayed in this really like negative, like misogynistic way. She just like wants money and she works for the company. And so she's trying to seduce Billy Shears, but then that doesn't work. So she ends up with the brother. So it's like, Dougie. Okay.
Well, there's a great scene at the dinner table.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this is my favorite part because it got really creative because they're at the dinner table and they're drinking and they're getting more drunk and they're all signing the paper. It's very Phantom of the Paradise. They're signing the contract. Yes. And the props keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, these giant it's like a Zaz movie.
They start off normal and then they get bigger and bigger and then the money is also like 2 or 3 times size of regular money. And
this is still
these fish
while
balls.
She's So Heavy is playing too.
Yeah, it's like the 10-minute She's So Heavy.
And by the time they get to Maurice at the end of the table, and then they go to Peter Frampton and Donald Pleasance is putting like drugs.
Yeah, and their clothes change when they sign the document.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They have BT
pops into
it's like BD Bratwurst, I think. Was Donald Pleasance's
he has
name.
like a record label.
Yeah, so then and as soon as they would sign, their shirts would change to like BD, like property.
Yeah, very similar to the record label in Phantom of the Paradise. Which one was first? I don't know, but
yeah, when did Phantom of the Paradise come out?
It was around this time.
1974. So yeah, much before this.
Yeah, so this movie ripped it off.
Yeah, it was kind of like saying it was giving me those type of vibes, and I was watching.
Yeah, and then there's like an orgy, and also there's a scene where they're on like the bed.
There's an orgy or a sex scene on a rotating record.
Yeah, so that's also very similar to some of the shots from Phantom of the Paradise.
What was that, like Paul Williams' bed or something? Was it on a...
Well, Paul Williams had to be in bed with the Phoenix because if they were standing up, he would be way too short. So
how is Paul Williams not in this movie? He famously did everything.
He was he was probably like no.
Yeah, he was probably on like Love Boat or something while they were shooting.
I'm sure he was. No, he was on the Muppet Show.
Yeah, that's right.
We actually watched him on the Muppet Show. They have all the Muppet shows on Disney now.
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
So,
no, all of them.
A couple of controversial ones.
Well, there were some actually weren't on there because of copyright issues.
Yeah, that's why. It's copyright reasons why some of them are not included.
And then there was one where the guy was like a pedophile or something.
Was Jeffrey Jones on it?
No.
Was it the guy from Seventh Heaven?
No, he was...
oh my God, there's so many of them.
He was a writer on the Muppet Show.
Michael Jackson?
No. Right. But we watched the one with Blondie and Paul Williams. It was pretty fun.
2 different
I wish
episodes.
the Muppets had shown up in this.
I actually remembered those episodes from the time that I watched them, like in the 70s, I guess.
Holy
Yeah, again,
moly.
the Muppets are not too goofy to be in this movie.
A surprise.
We've got telephone robots.
Why, like everybody shows up at the end of this movie, right? Jose Feliciano, Tina Turner.
Donovan, Sha-na-na.
Well, we'll get to that, but like, so Strawberry shows up, and then she brings up the plot of we got to get those stolen instruments.
Well, Mean Mr. Mustard is being directed. He's got this like van, this creepy van that he drives
And
around.
the tall guy's in this,
Oh yeah, the fireman
from Twin Peaks.
and many other things. Lurch from the Addams Family.
Star Trek: The Next Generation.
What is that man's name?
Carol Strukian or something like that.
You guys know him, the super, super tall guy who's bald and very, very white. He's in this, you guys.
Mm-hmm. He plays like this guy named the Brute.
I don't know why I'm so impressed that he's in this when this movie has like Steve Martin in it.
Yeah, but Steve Martin's section sucks. Anything with the Brute, who, just in case you forget his name, he has Brute on the back of his jacket.
Yeah, he's like the muscle for Mean Mr. Mustard. So yeah, Mr. Mustard is being directed. He's got this like big video screen, and it keeps giving him directions like steal their instruments. And
So there's like this deep state overlord QAnon thing, like directing these people to do, and they're like brainwashing
And as we'll get
our
to
youths.
it's the most evil band that ever existed.
Although
Aerosmith.
I have to bring up something. This movie had kind of similar things to the Wall movie.
oh, I'd never seen that.
You never saw that?
Good movie. Alan Clark.
Did that? I think that came out after this, though. Didn't that come out in the early 80s?
I think so. I believe so.
Yeah.
I do not remember.
Because that movie had in this movie they dressed their fascists up in Boy Scout outfits.
Right.
In The Wall, they actually put them in Nazi uniforms.
Yeah.
They go there.
Yeah, 1982, and not Alan Clark, the director of Scum. This was directed by Alan Parker, the director of Fame.
And Mississippi Burning, didn't he do that as well?
Yep, he also did Mississippi Burning and The Commitments and Evita.
Yep.
And Midnight Express.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's a much better musical movie that looks at a concept album and tries to.
Tommy is the best. I love.
You know,
Tommy.
I've never seen that.
And speaking of bad singing, oh boy, everybody, Oliver Reed. You ever want to hear him sing?
Oof, I think he was supposed to be in this too.
But he was angry about Tommy.
Too drunk.
mean Mr. Mustard. Oh God, Oliver Reed.
Anyway, that movie just has a similar representation of power structures, and they're taking over, kind of like in The Apple, where there's like this evil corporation that's making people sing and dance and stuff.
It's not a new idea when it comes to
It's
the musicians
1984.
come to the big city and they get sell their soul to the devil and
Yeah, exactly.
so the band they are convinced instantly to go on a quest to find their instruments. They do not need to be talked down from their life of decadence in LA.
Yeah, like at all.
Nope.
And so now we're at the part where it's just like musical number after musical number.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, and some of them are just miserable. Like we've already said.
Oh, man.
Steve Martin. Oh,
He does Maxwell Silverhammer.
holy shit.
Yeah, but then they fight with lightsabers.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and I mean, Steve Martin is at least giving it some energy, but that number is not good.
Is Maxwell Silverhammer anyone's favorite Beatles song?
I don't know about favorite. I remember I used to like it.
It's okay.
It's about a guy who hits people on the head.
It's a fun tune, but his performance is so bad. It's so lethargic and just like, it just sucks
This is
the energy.
before Little Shop of Horrors, and it's kind of a similar outfit. He's wearing the surgeon outfit.
Yeah, I think he said he kind of influenced his performance.
Well, this probably helped get him that role.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know. Like, if I saw him in this, I would say, get him out of my movie. He's not in.
So in this, he plays a plastic surgeon that is making old people look young, as you do in Hollywood.
It's like this assembly line that he's got where like old people come in and then they turn into these young, like handsome people. But
and he's singing right to camera, right? A few people in this talk to the camera. Not everybody, just some people do. The Mean Mr. Mustard guy, who I don't even know who that actor is.
He's like a British comedian. Yeah, I think his this
He
was
just
like his
talks directly to the camera.
Yeah. he's kind of hamming up. It's like every scene that he's in, though, it kind of goes to like the sped up motion, like Benny Hill or something.
Yeah, it was
wacky hijinks.
a different tone altogether, really.
Yeah, but this Steve Martin performance, man, it just sucks the energy right out of the movie.
Yeah, I think that his number is like, woo, like the film just kind of nosedives, and it definitely does not pick up any speed when Alice Cooper shows up.
Oh,
doesn't even get a song. What is going on?
Yeah, he
does?
was kind of singing in that video.
He's just kind of doing a voice.
That's his thing.
That's his thing. So apparently,
His scary voice.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was him. I thought it was Frank Zappa or something.
Yeah, because he had the mustache.
He had the mustache. So he came out. He was in rehab at the time for alcoholism, and he got a 3-day break from rehab to come and shoot his scenes for this movie.
Oh no, it's the worst place he could go.
And he thought it was going to be a big hit, and so he's just in this scene of like kids in a classroom in a black void watching the indoctrination video, and his music video is on the screen, and it's horribly ugly, and the whole scene is ugly, and it's just like dark and shadowy.
Yeah, he was trying to sing it like John Lennon.
Was it because?
Yeah, I think so. And then George Martin, the producer, is just like, sing it like Alice Cooper would sing it. And it's
Can you imagine Alice Cooper trying to do a John Lennon?
I don't know.
I mean, it might have been better than what it was. I have no idea.
I don't know. It's so bad.
And then the Bee Gees come and punch and beat him up.
The only thing, and from like here on, I think from the Steve Martin bit, it's just the energy just goes down.
I agree. The energy is just like...
It's broken until my favorite part.
Is next the Earth, Wind, and Fire concert?
No. Because next... Wait, is it the Earth, Wind, and Fire concert next?
Yeah, because they get into... they sneak into Mean Mr. Mustard's van. Well, there's a couple other things. There's like the Earth, Wind, and
because
Fire.
doesn't Peter Frampton, he gets electrocuted, and then Strawberry Fields sings Strawberry Field, which is confusing.
That was another song that seemingly went on forever.
Why are you singing about yourself?
They put fake tears on her face.
No. That was on Peter Frampton's face.
I think she had
Peter
fake
Frampton.
tears.
She was
too.
crying for real.
Well, that's not what I heard. I heard Peter Frampton was crying for real because he was thinking about his dead friend.
Well, his tears
I thought you were going to say his career.
after this movie, definitely.
Yeah.
No, she was crying out of her eye holes. He had like painted tears on his face.
But yeah, again, it's just like these close-up shots of her sitting over him singing this like 5-minute song, and it's just so boring.
Which is fine. She does like a good.
She does have a good voice,
good rendition of it. Like she's a good singer, but it's just like God.
Remember her earliest song in the movie? I forget what it was, but the bass was mixed so.
Here Comes the
loud.
Sun was the first time she sings. Yeah. Here comes the
Yeah, maybe
sun.
it was that one. But I felt like the bass was mixed louder than her singing, and so she's singing the song, and it's just like.
The bass, the bass.
And I love bass, but
he was taking the bass line for a while.
I mean,
It
all of her
sounded bad.
songs are all, I don't know how to love.
Yeah. Hey, Yvonne Yellman was in that big group at the end of the movie.
Oh, was she?
I didn't see her, but her name was in the credits.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, she's a good
So
singer.
from there,
but
the plot gets very confused where they decide to just have a concert.
they go home and have a benefit concert to raise money for the record company wants to steal all the money that they raised.
Which is just them watching Earth, Wind, and Fire sing a song.
Yeah, they come down in these like big. It was like the opening, like the Spinal Tap show or something like that, where they come down in these big plastic cocoons or something, pods, and then Earth, Wind, and Fire come out, and they do a pretty good version of, But again, you're just watching the entire song.
What song did they do? I forgot. I remembered earlier. It was Sundays on the phone to Monday. She came in through the bathroom window.
No, they
They didn't do that one?
did. Oh Christ!
I think they did. She came in through the bathroom window.
No, Got to Get You Into My Life.
Yes.
Oh, that's the one they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? A lot of these songs sound very similar. It's
The Beatles. Real one note.
But I liked their costumes a lot, and I just there was like you were saying earlier, there's this weird lack of energy in that performance, and it's not
You
their
like
fault.
Earth, Wind, and Fire's
Oh
costumes?
no, not
Yeah.
their performance. I was
No,
like
in
Steve-
like the way it was shot.
No, the way it just shot like a concert movie at this point.
Yeah,
it definitely feels like Coke ran out on set.
And I love,
For sure.
I really like Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I thought they were fine, but at that point, it's just like, God, how many more songs are we going to hear? You know, that should have been like...
And there's like 10
You should have been building up to Earth, Wind, and Fire, because it's...
Yeah, it's weird is that a lot of musicals have this problem, especially 70s one, which is they don't know how to build to a climax.
Yeah.
And you feel like The Apple has the same problem, where it's like, the movie's over, you get a big musical number? Nah, the movie's over, roll the credits.
Yeah, it's just like, more songs.
Yeah. Just end big. We don't need like 30 more songs that are like low tempo.
I mean, Jesus Christ Superstar, because Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Jesus Christ Superstar is banger after banger.
Yeah, but that did lead up to the big performance at the end of Jesus Christ Superstar, which is a huge like thing on a stage like thing, and then it ends with the crucifixion, and then it ends. But,
because it goes to a fantasy sequence in Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah, and then it kind of comes down. But
what a great movie.
Yeah, this one is just like just peters out.
Well, I can't wait till we get to the... You will not believe what is in the end of this movie, but we're almost there.
Okay, so anyway, she cries, she revives Peter Frampton, and then I think she's like kidnapped by...
Yeah, she is kidnapped.
Mr.
And like they sing a lot of songs to her.
Holy crap. So
When I'm 64.
It's like Aerosmith... they end up at Aerosmith's lair at the end, which is like this
FVB, isn't it? Future Villain Band.
Future Villain Band, and Strawberry Fields is like tied up in this sort of circular contraption.
And
thing.
I will say, Aerosmith sings "Come Together." Good cover.
It's pretty good.
Like
good.
It matched their voice. I was like, yeah, this kind of rocks.
Yeah, that's it's like a good cover.
Every time I see Steve Tyler's face, I'm like, man, he looks so weird.
He just has a weird face.
He does.
Yeah, he just has a weird face. Like, because like you would look at him now and you'd be like, oh, what did he do with plastic surgery? But then you look at him here in 1978, you're like, no, he's always looked like that.
He's always looked like that. He's just an older version of that.
He's got a really big mouth, and that's why he's good at singing.
Yeah, but
you think that's what it is?
It all has to do with the size of your mouth.
Son, you and your giant mouse will one day be very good singers.
You'll
it's
be
really
the best
the only
singer in
job
the
you
world.
can have. Yeah. You will have a rock and roller coaster named after you.
They, so they do a great cover. She's tied up, and then the band comes in, Billy Shears and his boys. The Bee Gees come in, and they have a fight. And they're like fighting.
What's missing from this is like a music off. Like,
do you really want to?
Don't they dance fight?
Do you really want a music off at this point after like listening to?
Yes, I do. I want a Xanadu style. You know that one where it's like two different styles and they come together.
Speaking of which, this movie is compared a lot to Xanadu, and Xanadu I feel is a lot better. But Xanadu also
disagree.
Disagree. Well, you're wrong. But
Xanadu's so dull.
But the songs are so much better.
Than the Beatles songs?
Yes, the Xanadu songs are better than the Beatles covers.
Let's just say that there aren't any like George Burns songs in Xanadu.
But that made me laugh.
Xanadu has the same problem.
We did an episode on Xanadu, didn't we?
Oh yeah, it has the same problem where the musical numbers are great and then the plot is kind of meh. Like I don't even.
Yeah, but there's only like 5 musical numbers in Xanadu. Even though I will say Xanadu the song, sung by Olivia Newton-John and written by ELO, better than any song the Beatles have ever written.
Oh, it's great. I thought Xanadu had a great soundtrack. I love ELO. But so instead, we're ending the movie with Peter Frampton like straddling fucking Aerosmith guy. What's his name? Steve Tyler.
Oh,
like, fighting.
The movie's not ending here. But there's like 6 more songs.
I know. But, and then I guess like Strawberry Fields saves Peter Frampton, but she's still kind of tied up in this contraption. This stunt, like I wanted to rewind it. It was
like
insane.
A real person died.
Her contraption falls off. Like it must be like 10 or 15 feet.
It could have been a really good-looking dummy. I don't know though. The way it moves.
Yeah, it looks like she takes a huge, nasty hit, like falling off this platform onto the stairs.
And surprise, surprise, the character dies.
Yeah, she's dead. So they get a new actress.
No, the character dies.
Yeah, and we end up back. She's dead.
And now we have to go through an entire funeral scene with 2 songs.
Christ.
What were they thinking? Like that, like it's over. Like the villains have been defeated. And now we just watch them be sad.
Yeah, so it's Peter Frampton crying and like singing, and then
and she's on a
long and winding
casket.
road is what they sing.
Yeah, long and winding road. Then it goes
into Carry That Weight.
Carry That Weight.
He sings Golden Slumbers, which goes into Carry That Weight. So we got that song too. That's during the funeral.
And then after the funeral, all the Bee Gees are just sitting around all sad. Peter Frampton is really depressed. He's singing. Then like Barry Gibb sings a friggin' song.
Barry Gibb gets his own moment where we go into a day in the life.
Yeah.
And he has like a little out of body existential experience, which is kind of what that song, I guess.
Yeah.
That
he gets lost in his hair, like in the Monkees movie.
So he like imagines himself back at the record label, and then he jumps back, and then like I almost
jump back.
I almost feel like they just put this in the movie. They put this whole weird death sequence in the movie just so we could have the Day in the Life song. I don't know. So we can have this big depressing ending.
It's quite possible. But yeah, it is heading into like depressed town. And like Peter Frampton is about to commit suicide.
Literally.
He's not about to commit suicide. He does commit suicide.
Well, he jumps off the roof and he's saved by my favorite part of the movie. And this is like a much needed jolt of energy at this point. It's Billy Preston doing Get Back.
Yeah, it is, but it's so baffling and out of nowhere.
Well, the weather vane from the beginning spins so fast it comes alive and turns into
it's Billy Preston like a gold suit, and he's like shooting lightning bolts at people and like changing the town.
Sense if Billy Preston had been like the Sergeant Pepper from the beginning that gets killed.
No, it's all good. Don't worry about it.
It's just nobody in the movie. It's just musician,
It's fucking
Billy
Preston
as himself.
Yeah, he's like the only guy who in this movie he played the original keyboard on Get Back. So
he zaps Billy Frampton,
Peter Frampton,
Billy Frampton,
and he falls backwards. They roll it backwards so he doesn't fall and kill himself.
Yeah, but he's like he goes around shooting lightning at the entire town, and he's changing the town back to how it was. Like all the prostitutes are going. He changes the arcade back. And
changes
all this
Mr. Mustard into a Pope.
Yeah, you move this.
Yeah, the Pope, the real criminal.
This song is so awesome, and he just like this song needed to be much earlier in the movie. Like,
and his performance is just fantastic.
I'm like, where is this?
I feel bad for him. He's being like dragged on these wires.
Get back to what you once belonged.
Oh, he's awesome. His version of it is so cool.
Well, of course, he brings Strawberry Fields back to life because I was like, she can't. This movie can't end with her dying.
She doesn't even run up to Peter Frampton and kiss her. She just runs back home, never to be seen again.
She's just there. And they dance, and then their outfits change, and a happy ending, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
My favorite part, a cavalcade of stars on screen doing a dance that they clearly never got a chance to choreograph.
No, everybody looks so okay. This is like they end the thing. It's like a bigger version of We Are the World. It's like just hundreds of celebrities.
It's supposed to be an homage to the Sgt. Pepper's album cover.
Right, but there are so many more people.
Yeah, there's more than even on that cover.
But holy shit, and they're cutting to close-ups, and you just feel bad for every single celebrity. You're like, oh no, there's Tina Turner. Oh God.
I read online that they sent engraved invitations to everyone in Hollywood and just took whoever would come.
Yeah.
Really?
And they gave them all their own hotel rooms.
That would
and
explain
stuff.
why Keith Carradine is there.
It's very random. And then you see Sha Na Na, and I'm like, God, who is that? It's like, it's Jose Feliciano. And I kept feeling...
Oh, man, Leif Garrett is there, too?
Yeah. I just felt like so bad for everybody, and they all look so awkward and uncomfortable every time they cut to them.
Trying to wrangle that many people to even do basic dance moves is hard.
It's awful. And it was just like a whole cavalcade of all these really ugly white people in the back.
Well, those were just
Wolfman Jack is there.
Wolfman Jack.
I think they just had extras in the back to fill it out.
I think it was his crew members because they didn't look like they should be on camera or in a band.
Look at those fuglies. They gotta be crew members.
It's like either that or like they're from Steely Dan or something.
Yeah, no, they're all the dealers that they put in the back of the
all the celebrities, 40, drug 50. Dealers.
And they all look so unhappy and really uncomfortable.
They cut to Tina Turner multiple times, I think, because they're like, people will recognize her.
Well, they put her at the front, and I felt so bad.
Well, they saved Dame Edna for last. It's a big close-up.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that Dame Edna?
Yeah, it's what April said. I'm like, oh my God,
I didn't know Dame Edna was around in the 70s.
She was around in Australia, but I don't think she was really well known in America.
I have never seen anything that Dame Edna is in, and that was the first person I recognized.
I've just seen her stand up on Just for Laughs.
Yeah, I know of her. She's like the Jiminy Glick of Australia or something.
Yeah, Barry Humphries plays the character.
Yeah.
But yeah,
poor Etta James is there
there's
too.
so many. There's Hall and Oates are in there apparently.
Are they really?
Yeah, I didn't see them, but again, it was on the big list in the credits.
As soon as
Hall and Oates are there.
as soon as I saw,
maybe it was Seal and Crofts.
I don't think Hall and Oates are there. Seal and Cross.
I can't believe they got Shaw, Nah, and Nah.
Snap, Crackle, and Pop didn't respond to the letter of invitation.
This is where you would have the Muppets, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I'm surprised they didn't. They turned them down. Kermit just threw the invitation in the garbage. You're like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Okay, so is the movie over?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's done.
You know what?
Wait, no. There's 5 more songs left.
We never mentioned the Mr. Kite sequence.
Oh god.
There's way too many songs in this movie.
Too many songs.
Wait, what is the Mr. Kite sequence?
I think that's when they're going back to Heartland after being in LA, and they're coming in on a bus, and there's like circus performers.
Yeah.
Oh, right. For the benefit. Oh, yeah, because
Yeah.
George Burns' name is Mr. Kite.
Right.
So they can
he
sing
is?
for the benefit of
Oh.
Mr. Kite because they're doing a benefit concert.
Just gotta
It's very
work.
literal.
You gotta work it in.
They gotta tie all those songs together into
Anywhere
some
you can.
semblance of a narrative.
I mean, this is no Across the Universe, right, April?
It's not. I brought up. I wanted to just bring that up now. What do we think about that movie?
Never seen it.
I think it's okay.
So when-
I got thrown out of a theater because I was on a date during it.
What were you doing during the date?
We were just chit-chatting. It was like an empty theater, and I felt bad. We left.
So when that came out,
I got you thrown out for like making out
No,
too
yeah, for
loudly
like
or
making
something.
out. No,
for obscenity.
for obscenity.
Exposing yourself.
I
in
was
public.
Don't check my
uh,
criminal records.
So I was in college when that came out during the time when we were obsessed with the Beatles, and me and my friends loved it. I think I saw it in the
That
theater
movie
twice.
has the same problem too, though, where it just runs out of steam by the end.
Yeah, the end is definitely. It also has like a downer because one of the characters goes to war and comes back, and one of the characters gets deported, and then it ends with they do a concert on the roof, and the deported character comes back, and he has a very small reunion with his girl, and then that's it.
The musical number where he goes to Vietnam is the most Julie Taylor sequence of that.
It's
That's who directed it.
ridiculous. That's the she's
Yeah,
so
where it's
heavy.
like, happiness.
Oh,
is
no,
a
that-
warm gun. And they're like
that
shooting
one.
up. Bang, bang.
That has Selma Hayek as 5 nurses in it. I'm
that's
seeing
right.
quadruple.
You've seen double, 10 nurses.
5 Selma Hayeks. But anyway, I really liked that movie when it came out a lot. And when it came to video, me and my friends watched it on video.
Really?
And then
Wow.
years and years and years later, I revisited it and I was like, oh, this is actually bad. This might be a bad
Wait.
movie. But I couldn't even finish it. But I will say, I think it's enjoyably bad the way this movie is. Enjoyably bad.
I think this one is more crazy and coked up than Across the
it
Universe.
definitely is, but that movie has much weirder visuals though. Like there's a scene,
I don't
the
know
She's
about
So
that.
Heavy sequence has a bunch of army guys in their underwear carrying the Statue of Liberty in
Yeah, but that's real, like
in
real Julie Taymor stuff.
well, yeah,
that's her
I
name,
guess.
Julie Taymor.
But yeah, that movie is a lot more serious.
Didn't she
than
direct The
this.
Lion King?
The stage
Broadway?
musical? Yeah,
The Broadway, yeah.
and
So she
Spider-Man
kinda
Turn Out the
defined-
Dark. Oh yeah,
Yeah, Spider-Man Turn Out the Dark.
Oh man.
That is a musical that has awful, awful songs.
Oh, they're terrible.
Yeah, and as far as like the covers go in Across the Universe, I think that most of them are probably better than the ones in this.
Get high with a little help from my
That
friends
one
when they're
had
getting
a-
high in college.
Oh yeah, that one.
Don't you get it?
It had Joe Cocker come together, which was really good. But they this movie, as far as the songs go, it's like a quarter of them are good, and the rest of them are just bad covers, in my opinion.
Well, they're just like uninteresting covers, but as much as I love the Bee Gees, like, okay, if you're just going to do
I don't like them singing the Beatles songs. Some of them are okay.
some of them are
They
okay.
have nice
The
voices.
Day in the Life was okay, but I just don't feel like it was suited for them.
I don't know. I like the Bee Gees, but it's just
I
like
love the Bee Gees.
they were just sort of uninteresting covers where
We're
it's
a
just they're
pro
just
Bee Gees
they're
podcast.
just doing the same song the same way.
But yeah,
which is
they were just
Yeah,
like,
I mean that's my main issue is that I like it when they like make it into like multiple people. Like She's So Heavy, like they tried something with that where like multiple people sang the song.
Yeah.
But if they're just standing on stage and doing their cover, that's boring.
But anyway, I just wanted to say, like, I would recommend this movie, but I think that you need to be like with some friends or at a party. I think at a party would be great because during the long, boring songs,
you can skip a song.
Well, you could just talk.
Just talk, or like skip the songs, skip ahead.
Yeah. This movie is available on iTunes. You can rent it. I think you can also rent it off YouTube. It's like $5.
Yeah.
And if you want to email the podcast, we're at no such thing as a bad movie at gmail.com. And we're on Twitter at no such thing pod and patreon.com/no such thing as a bad movie. If you want to get a little bonus episode every 2 weeks, we just recorded one on Coming to America. Which one?
I love the John Landis movie.
Who knows?
Wait. Aren't we almost at 200 people?
Oh my gosh. I think we're like 3 patrons away from 200 patrons. And when we get...
And what does it mean when we hit 200?
When we hit 200, we're going to release a special...
We all explode.
A special Q&A episode.
Only 200.
Which will be our second Q&A episode.
We are 2 people away.
Oh my gosh.
As of the recording of this. 198.
If you're hearing this, make it happen. Because as soon as we hit 200, I'll start collecting questions and we'll do that episode.
Oh man, we talk about the real bad movies on this show. I'm just scrolling through here. Monster Hunter, Green Book, Bad Boys for Life, Tenet, Wonder Woman 1984.
So if you want that
Mutants.
content,
and Dr. Sleep.
The Q&A will be on there as well.
That's good.
I also did a guest spot on the This Film Is Lit podcast last week where I compare the book and the movie of The Neverending Story. So check that out. One of the co-hosts is Brian from Good, Bad, or Bad Bad. If you know that show on YouTube, it was a lot of fun. Check it out. And my Twitter is at April Mansky.
You can follow me on Twitter, Decloux, DECLOUX, letter J, and also catch me every week. I do a YouTube show called The Best New Movie Shows, where I take 3 new movies and I pick the best one. Just search Best New Movie Show or Film Trap. That's the name of the channel.
Oh, and you can find me on Twitter. I'm Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA.
So that's it for this week. We got to go because you can probably hear our cat meowing because he wants to be fed.
It's me meowing because I have to go pee pee.
Okay, thanks for dropping by. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for dropping by.
I'm April Mansky.
I'm Justin McClure.
And I'm Colin Cunningham.
And remember, there's no such thing as a bad movie.